recap for the A-League, some EPL highlights, some Euro happenings, and the very coveted Maradona Cup. We're covering everything here today. Play the music, bro.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Dude.
Soccer never sleeps, and neither do we.
No, we don't. That's why we look like this. Adelaide versus Melbourne victory. Getting stuck right in here because I can't believe these fellas are still keeping up this dream start under Pop. Now, I may be, taking your bait a little bit in that, Pop's Mr. Calamity and that it all sort of capitulates at some point. But they're playing well. Like if it was they were just getting results, squeaking by, you could see crack here or there, fair enough. But they're playing good. Like Adelaide's a good team. They're good at home. They were well organized. Even with they conceded a silly own goal, which gave up the equalizer. They were able to sort of stalwart through it and keep their heads and survive the onslaught that came thereafter, and then go up with a great team goal to get the lead again for 2-1. The first goal was nice as well. Terrific finish from Margiotta, depends how ethnic you want to get about it. Margarita. Great finish. It was like a really high cross, like real high up in the air, and he waited for it to come all the way down, then he side-footed into the bottom corner, which I thought was terrific. Like that's high class. And it's, if I understood correctly, I didn't stat check, but I think it's his first goal so far in the season. And for a striker to be chasing his first goal of the season, and he's been able to kind of keep a cool head and finish like that for the first goal of the game, I don't know, promising signs, man. Like if they've been this good up until this point without a player like him sort of firing, then like there's still room for them to even get a little better, which is impressive to see. The good game overall, though, good one to catch. I think this one.
Yeah, Adelaide is showing to be a cheeky little side. That'll give you a run for your money, especially at home. Which have they been historically good at as well. And also to know an OG derby, the first one of the two oldest clubs, a couple of the day ones going at it. One of the most, I think, heated rivalries. I think if I'm not mistaken, this is Victory's first win over Adelaide since I believe 2017. It might have been 2 years. Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy. Well, actually, I was going to say currently they're second. Victory. Not a bad bounce back from their terrible start last season, or terrible start, middle and end for last season, because it was the whole thing was bad. But particularly because I am I mistaken in thinking that like 7-8 games in is when they were getting booed from their own home fans and like essentially getting like cussed out of the stadium. It was super early. Yeah,
it might have been that game, or if it was around that period where they got thumped by City.
Yeah, but I feel like either way, it's in the first third of the season.
Yeah, they were poor from the onset.
Yeah, they were really poor from the onset. So look, it's a promising start for them. They're second. Only MacArthur ahead of them. There's a couple of teams on the same points as them, but their goal difference is carrying them. I think it's a good start for them, but like the top of the table starting to separate itself a little bit. And this game was kind of showing that, because these are two teams that are quite quality. And you could see it. The quality of the whole match was overall just of a good standard. It was just a good game to see. I was glad I caught it. One that I wasn't glad that I caught, though, was the Wanderers versus the Bulls. My goodness. Look, man, like probably one of the better first halves from the Wanderers this season, though. Created a whole lot of chances. Yeah, it does say a lot, to be honest, but created a whole lot of chances, but to just no end, couldn't finish the really easy ones, which was only a very small amount, but they couldn't take away the clearest chances. And in all the 50-50 ones, they made almost nothing of at all. Like Troisi was playing probably the best he's played in a Wanderers jersey, to be honest, really trying to make his claim for a starting spot. And they were just making nothing of the chances he was creating. Like in all honesty, when when a player of his caliber, you know what it kind of I've put it akin to is sort of how Garcetis has been going at Sydney FC. Like he's ticking for some reason, he's distributing the ball well, everything's coming off well, but just not getting an assist. Like no one's really making anything of what he's putting out there. And it's sort of in a microcosm. That's what we got here with Troisi. Unable to capitalize on anything and just fell apart really mentally after they conceded, I felt.
For sure. And I think, look, we've been, proponents of changes up front and throughout the field. There were some, and they did work out well. I thought Kajira was good, even though he didn't have too many clear-cut chances. I thought he did well in terms of picking up the ball and
in the first half. I felt like in the second half he got a little lost.
I think the second half a lot of the team was lost.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Back. I'm forgetting his name. Not Reese Williams. That one, He's really long.
Oh, Katrumbas.
I almost called him Costa Curtis. Katrumbas. Katrumbas. Yeah, he just kind of got lost in the sauce, as well as back at the back. I found it funny how Carl still followed through with his patented substitution of
it's like on FIFA when you hit R2 and you accidentally do the auto sub. Like it's just the same ones every time.
Yeah, it's the same ones every time.
The one that made no sense to me was Aquilina for Tate. Aquilina for Tate. Aquilina. The reason it made no sense was like Aquilina he played significantly better than he did last game, right? I think he had a pretty solid game, and it wasn't the sort of sub you needed to take the game from MacArthur. It was just sort of like a sub you'd make just to do some rotation. Like it didn't feel like it was impactful in any sort of way.
Yeah, my concern wasn't the personnel, whatever. He's got his favored substitutions who he thinks are game changers. One, I had two issues. One, why wasn't Petrados taken off?
Bro.
The guy did nothing for a lot of the game.
And it was a net negative for sure.
100%. The guy, he had a chance fall in his lap, and then he and just fluffed it completely. Had his shot blocked. Which goes to show that he's completely devoid of any sort of form or confidence or anything, closely resembling that same player that dominated and took Newcastle to its lofty heights. But also, I think the fact that what concerns me even more was Robbo made the same changes he's made the last 2 weeks, but he literally conceded a goal just before he made those changes, or maybe just after. I can't remember now exactly, but I believe it was before.
It was right around the time of the goal. It was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, hold on. 100%. It was just before because
I think it was just before
Tate came on, and just in that second or two that it took him to adjust to where he was on the field, he was caught slightly too high, and the overlapping run was
that's exactly
on his side.
He was on the field. I remember looking at him run as everyone ran by him. Why wouldn't you change your subs? Like the game is not the same game as you decided to make these subs. I understand, you have to tell these players, hey, go back to the bench. You have to warm down. But wouldn't you make a coaching decision and go, all right, these aren't the subs I need to win the game. I need to look at something different, change the shape, do something. I don't know. I feel like my patience with Carl, I was a big proponent throughout the season, giving more time. But it looks like the team has now regressed.
Yeah, 100%.
Their positions or some of the positions have been bolstered.
Oh, significantly. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Rodwell, but the fact that he didn't play this game is a bit of a...
Wasn't on the bench even.
It wasn't on the bench, so maybe he's injured, maybe, whatever the case may be, something in the background. He needs to play.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If he's the marquee signing, he's come on during the derby, almost scored. He came on against Wellington, nearly scored. Give the man minutes. You're giving him the most money. You have to make him.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of the if it was just losing the games or drawing, because let's be honest, most of them would be draws. If it was just that, the result aspect, the outcome wasn't where it needed to be, then, fair enough. It's a new team. There's a lot of pieces there, all that sort of stuff. But it's just the fact that they're just not, even in this game where they were creating a whole lot more, it just never felt sustainable because the type of chances they're creating are not the sort of chances you'd think they'd be creating with Hamed in the lineup, with Rodwell, carrying more minutes. Like it felt sort of patchwork.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that for a coach to have a whole year under his belt, not really apply an identity to the team, and then finally get some sort of booster packs, you'd want to consider it that way,
Mm,
and not really make any steps forward. I don't know. I honestly think he's benefiting a little bit from the sort of slow start that your big teams like Sydney and Melbourne and that have had.
mm,
Because if those two are really flying high, and then you'd have the ones that are currently up there at the moment, which is like Melbourne, MacArthur, and so on, then they wouldn't be holding on to a fifth spot. They'd be down in the eighths and ninths, and then the pressure would really be on, and it would be more obvious that they were underperforming.
mm,
Because the reality is, I think the results have sort of papered over a little bit of how bad they actually are playing, because they
yeah.
played terrible. They've played
Mm,
really bad. I think
mm,
this was the first game where they were sort of the better team, and they weren't even the better team the whole game. And
mm,
when they were, they didn't capitalize on it at all. So
yeah.
it's very worrisome, because then it's like, even when things go well for you, you're still not able to really make anything of it.
For sure, and like you can see how they have been really bad at sometimes, but also there's been a mild glimmer of hope. But you can see how middling their performances have been just by looking at their record: one win, two draw, sorry, one loss, 4 goals for, 4 goals against. It's
Yeah.
very much and seventh on the table out
Yeah.
of 12 teams. So really bang on average. And
Mm.
we can, go on until the cows come home about how, they need to do better. But considering the team that they have, considering the funds, the resources, the stadium, middle of the table is not enough, not good enough. How can your first season or your first 2 seasons be still your best seasons?
Yeah.
And, you
Yeah.
know, now that the team is bedded in, there's a new stadium, there's a lot of new players, you're able to pull some players in. Why hasn't the team improved?
Of
Why
course.
hasn't it gotten back to the heights of the inaugural seasons?
Yeah, or at least produced some performances that would
Yeah,
trend towards that. Like,
yeah.
you don't expect that to happen from one season to the next, but you'd think that, with a year under your belt, plus some quality on the in the roster now, for you to
Vision back.
sort of execute your plan. I don't know, just I'm expecting a bit more.
For sure.
And next game is against, I think, Central Coast, I believe.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so that's not an easy game. And speaking of, look, we'll get into Central Coast game next, because
What a segue.
yeah, terrific stuff from Central Coast. One of the better games for them, I think, so far this season. At least the first half. They did really well to score two quick goals early and hold on to it.
Mm,
They didn't really let a whole lot through, and when they did, they seemed to do well. Also, Sydney not really on their top form at the moment.
mm.
Um, what are they at the moment? I think they're 2 draws, 2 losses to start the
Let-
season.
I think they are indeed. They are second from the bottom. Hooray! No wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, 2 goals for, 5 conceded.
Yeah, not a good start for him. Not a good start.
No.
I felt really sorry for Cáceres on this one. He's probably been the brighter spot for them in the last couple of games, and he has to cop an own goal for his troubles. That's
Mhm.
another thing. Like, he's gonna look back on this part of the season, and really he's played well. But on the stats, he's got all he's got is an own goal, really, so far, and that's
Yeah.
harsh, because that kind of shows, like, okay, these guys are severely underperforming, to the point where it's literally dragging down those that are performing.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see, like, is Corica is in the hot seat from the fan perspective, so to speak, right? Like, us talking heads can hoot and holler about it, but is he really on the hot seat? Like, do you think is his job on the line? Are they going to make a move with him? I don't know how he's in with the brass there. I don't like.
Mm,
Are they quick to pull the trigger usually? Like, what's it
mm,
like for him? Do you reckon?
I think he's definitely going to be brought into question this season, especially with because though they have been to the finals and they've pushed to the top. Now that the squad is really showing its age, there's players missing. And the fact that they look really lethargic,
Yeah,
and really not interested in I guess pressing the opponent into submission or taking the game from them. I think there will be questions raised. I think maybe I genuinely think if they want to if they want to kind of get out of this rut, I think one, they need to refresh the squad. I think that's the most important part. Get some young blood in there that want to really go at it, and really want to make an impact on the pitch and for the club. They want to really play for the shirt, for the lack of a better term, and get some of the older guys out there that don't really are past it, or are showing signs of fatigue and age. And I think Corica as well should go, because he's inherited a reasonable side, but as you can see, that same team has produced worse and worse results as the seasons go by, or not passing the eye test. Maybe statistically they have looked well in his tenure, but the eye test isn't there anymore. No one is necessarily afraid of Sydney as they were back, in
and of course,
when he inherited the team from Arnold, or when they won all those titles back to back. I think so. I don't know. I think they need to hit the refresh. I don't think it's a panic, and they should do it tomorrow. But unless Corica, I think he's good to the middle of the season. If there isn't any sort
okay, fair.
of hope, or any sort of, I guess, change in attitude, or if those famous old leaks where there's locker room tensions or disagreements or bickering or whatever it may be, if those start to come out, I think he's done, because then he's lost a locker room. That's them planting stories
Yeah, yeah,
about him
100%.
leaving. So I think I definitely think he's good for now, but he's under the microscope. I wouldn't say his seat is hot just yet, but they're definitely waking up, and reading the papers, or looking at the results, or maybe even reviewing tape if they're bothered, and seeing if that's if they want to proceed or keep going down this path.
Just looking ahead here, Sydney's got Wellington Phoenix next, which by no means is an easy task.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they've got leaguing MacArthur. Leaguing.
Leaguing.
They've got MacArthur. So, could be that they come out of these next two games with only a point or so.
And Western United again, near the top of the table again, another team.
Yep, that's true. Perth Glory in between that, so they don't have like what they would consider a winnable game given their current form. I'm saying, if they were they're probably looking for someone like a Newcastle or something like that to pop up for them at this stage in time. But look, either way, let's get onto that EPL here, because we've got a bit to cover with these guys. Nice. How about this, man? Leicester back on the horse.
Back on the horse at Newcastle's expense. 4-0. Look, they look slick. They looked fast. Interesting that they scored 4 goals, but Vardy wasn't really involved, which is interesting. Does that kind of show that his time is finally up?
Yeah. I feel like this is the season where the measurable impact of Jamie Vardy is going down. Is gone, actually, practically. I feel like, I feel like this is the year where you can't count on him as a massive impact player. And he's probably going to dwindle more into like a veteran role. I mean, like, he kind of already was playing a veteran role already, but more so in the locker room presence, I guess. I mean, I don't know if he's that type of guy to even stick around for that. But it seems like when they do perform well, he's not sort of front and center like he used to be. That's for sure.
But look, it was a good performance. Good to see Matters continuing some good form he's found recently. Hopefully, he does continue down that path. I mean, all things considered, it is Newcastle still. I believe they've gotten 1 win all season, so in a sense, this should be a winnable game. A loss, if they did lose this, then questions would be raised, and Brendan Rodgers, would be under Brendan Rodgers would be under intense scrutiny, because you can't lose to a team that's won 1 game all season with 17 rounds in. Now they're looking better, at least. At least we've seen a few performances. I think this one and the one before, I believe. Let me have a look. I'll just confirm before I step out of line. But against Aston Villa, yes, they did lose, but new manager bounce will call that one. But they look like they made it a contest, which is something that they didn't look like doing for some of the games across the season.
The last 5 games have been inconsistent outcome wise,
Mm,
but considerably more stable when you talk
mm,
about performances
mm,
when you watch the games, right?
mm,
Because early on they were looking terrible. So Yunshu in particular looked
mm,
awful, 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 and it's not like he's looking great, but he's looking considerably more stable now. The
mm,
thing is, right? Last season it was they were flying really, really high, and then they would they would regress to this sort of mean to what we're seeing now in these last
mm,
5 games, right? What worries me now is that these last 5 games are now what we're calling their good form.
yeah.
So that's sort of worrying that their standards dip so much, right? Like they're behind Tottenham, who have had a shaky start under Conte, but aren't giving anything away cheaply. So they're starting to get consistent results, right?
Mm-hmm,
Aston Villa's in close behind them, who now with Stevie G at the helm have got a bit of momentum behind them.
mm-hmm,
Uh, just behind Aston Villa is Wolves, who they themselves have been inconsistent as of late, but started the season relatively competently. And then you got Brentford behind there and Brighton. All
mm.
squads who, given a bit of a hot streak, could put themselves in front of Leicester.
Yeah,
So
100%.
if my worry with Leicester is if they don't build from here, if this is sort of how they hold the rest of the season, then they're going to find themselves very deep mid-table, very deep
Mm,
mid-table. Like you're talking 10,
mm.
11 around there. So like, does Brendan Rodgers keep his job if they finish mid-table,
Got you.
even though it doesn't feel like a bottle job? Because if they just kind of hold this level of consistency, these last 5 games, you just repeat it through the rest of the season.
Mm,
They kind of, I don't think they drum up like some attention in the media, like, oh, look at the capitulation at Leicester. It won't
mm,
feel like they've failed because they
mm,
never really took off. Because that's what's happened the last few seasons is they've done really, really well first 2/3, and so it becomes a
yeah,
story. Whereas if
yeah.
they sort of fly under the radar, if they
Right
fly under
dog.
if they fly under the radar for like the first 30 games, are people going to really realize that they've choked? Like it's not really a choke, is it? So I'm just
No,
curious. Like I don't know. You brought them an FA Cup. Like, do you think they pull the cord?
I don't know. I think they're ambitious owners.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that's
Kind of
true.
depends on the market, really. But who's available at the time? Do they give him a little bit more time? I don't know. It's a difficult question. I think he's safe for the season, barring any shocks. I guess shocks in form where they just free fall to the bottom. But
Yeah,
one curious thing, I'm looking at the table now. I mean, Leicester is 22 points. You've got Arsenal on 26 in sixth, and United in fifth on 27. Right? That's
yeah,
that's a 5 point gap if you're doing the math at home, kids. But they are closer to let's have a look. Brighton in 12th on 20 points than they are to the top five at this stage. So it really
yeah,
goes to show how tight that middle of the pack is. Because if you obviously you've got all the big names buying West Ham in their usual spot, which is incredible to say the least. Then you've got Villa, Wolves, Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Everton, all teams that you know have shown purple patches of form
yeah,
and threats.
and are as close to them on points
Exactly,
as United is at fifth.
exactly,
So
exactly.
it's what I mean. Like they're in a precarious position where they're sort of holding on to that hope of being a top 4, top 5, top 6 squad.
Mm,
Where it's still within reach, but like a 2-3 game skid, and they find themselves like a world away.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. So, but it's flown under the radar. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah, 100%.
I've not really heard much in the news about like, oh, look at Leicester, how bad they're doing. Like
Yeah,
it's not really come up.
mm,
It's
yeah,
just
no,
us.
100%. Just us. Eh? You
It's
heard it
just
here
us.
first.
All right, Leeds versus Chelsea. They did well over the weekend, but not so much against City, huh?
No, no, no. They gave Chelsea a great run. Granted, a bit of injury depletion on Chelsea's front, and
And
also maybe
rotation probably, like it's a
yeah,
whole mess of
100%.
things for them.
Yeah, but obviously, still a good result for Chelsea. They got by, but inversely, this morning, absolute massacre. 7-0. The game was pretty much done as a contest within the first half an hour.
Yeah,
3 goals. Mahrez in the 49th, De Bruyne, a double, Ake, Stones. When the centre backs are scoring a goal each, it's starting to it really is a rout. Even Jackie G getting
Yeah, man.
on the score sheet.
That's really when that was the first thing I looked. I was like, oh, 7-0. I'm like, oh, the Jackie G score. I look this. I saw he was on the score sheet. I'm like, it's a route.
Yeah.
It's a route if he's getting on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Did Optus Sport misuse this screen grab, or did he really do the fingers in the ear celebration? Did he do that?
I don't
Maybe
know.
maybe he was copying some chat from the fans or something. But
Or maybe he's just a big fan of Harry Maguire. Both
maybe,
both big money English players, both under scrutiny over their
yep.
transfers and positions.
Yeah, could be, could be.
Connect.
He's standing up in solidarity with slabheads.
He's slapping it up, but yeah, look, they just absolutely dropped. I mean, 31 shots, 15 on target, 6 corners, 65% possession. A real
Let's
training ground run for City
Yeah,
there.
let's run through this squad here for Leeds United here.
Mm.
Who they got out? They got Daniel James playing up front.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Roberts playing in as like a cam center forward type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Harrison out wide on the left. Rafinha on the right. Dallas playing in defensive mid. I'm pretty sure it's Adam Forshaw. Yes,
Yeah, Adam
Adam
Forshaw.
Forshaw, center back, center midfielder, center defensive mid, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Luke Ayling,
At
fullback
center back.
at center back. And then you had Jamie Shackleton, I don't know, like rotation defender. Like, he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really have too sort of young to really have a position, I suppose. I don't know if he's particularly young, but he's in that sort of prospect role.
He's normally a center mid, but he's a slight frame. He's not a
Yeah,
tall
but
lad.
he's used as like defender substitute because he's
Yeah,
defensive mid, left back, right back. It's like wherever, he never really gets pushed far up the field. He's just like, wherever we need. He's not being at center back. That's fair enough, but
yeah.
he's just sort of like rotation defender. And then really the only two people that are in their position, sorry, other than the goalkeeper and Rafinha, is Lorente and Coco.
The soundboard's going off.
We're being invaded by Patrice Evra. Yeah, man, like just a absolute calamity of a squad, just patchwork, just papering over all the cracks, just making it work, just not conceding at all in his style. He's like, I don't care if I don't have the players for it. We're playing this way.
If we can survive the season,
yeah, we'll just die. We'll just die trying. But the reality is, man, with how bad they've been beat several times this season and just not really look like the challenge they were and the thin squad and all that sort of stuff. Even with all that, they're still not in the relegation battle. Like they're there, they're close by, but they're still not in it.
They're not down the bottom.
They're 5 points clear of the relegation. They've got a game in hand.
Yeah, it's hilarious to look at because I mean Watford have kind of bounced back, or I guess not bounced back, but aren't as terrible under Ranieri as they were prior to his arrival.
You're saying that, but they're still on a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, they're still. But I mean, when you look at what's behind them, I think is the scarier part. You've got Burnley with 1 win in 15. You've got Newcastle with 1 win in 16 games played, and then Norwich with 2 wins, 4 draws
17
in 17 with 8 goals scored.
Yeah, that's awful.
In 17 games. So the sheer fact that there's 3 teams a crazy amount worse than them is saving their bacon. And I think if they can, I'm putting the money on their Great Escape this year. They've played like a relegation team, but boy, are they! I think they will make it. They'll make
Leeds?
Leeds, yeah.
Leeds. Oh no, the thing that's what I'm saying, right? Is they're playing so bad, and they're so thin squad wise, but they're still not in the full on shit of it. So it's like they can only get better. Like I think this is as bad as they're gonna get. Like how are they gonna get worse? They've been playing awful. They just lost 7-0. Like how is it gonna get worse? They lose 14-0.
You'd hope Burnley and Norwich just don't find the purple patch and we enter a Pookie party or something like that.
Yeah, but like the thing is, even if Norwich does, they still have 2 games worth. Like they have to win 2 on the trot, with Leeds losing 2 on the trot at the same time for it to be, to balance out there. Like it's a lot has to go wrong for a long period of time, which is just surprising for me. That they've managed to keep at least some hold on a chance at mid-table finish.
Yeah,
Because look, they get their players back, they get Bamford back, they get Calvin Phillips back in the lineup. Then they go back to beating the mid-table sides, and they can hover up there. But it's just crazy how bad the relegation battle is this season. It's barely a battle. It's just they're on. They're being euthanized down there. It's crazy. They're on life support. All right, get into what's his name to the Everton game. Not bad. Not very good for old mate Rafa.
Our favorite fat Spanish waiter is in trouble. They get outclassed, and I think it's another team that's dealing with an mild injury crisis where Calvert-Lewin is injured.
Richarlison just got
he's
injured,
been in and out. He's picked up a knock during this game. Digne missing. You've had a few pieces moving around, but I think the biggest issue is that they don't look like a consistent team or a team that can, win a game on their own accord. I think it's like sometimes the team must give them a way back into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 win in 10. Their last win was obviously against Arsenal, but before that, it was Norwich in September. But since then, draw against United, loss against West Ham, capitulation against Watford, lost to Wolves. Again, one of those teams that's stuck in that position where we're talking about from 8th to 14th, where a skid or an upswing or a couple wins in a row, is the difference between mid-table and our bottom half finish in the 14th, 15th place. So you'd hope that they find some form, but 1 in 10 isn't good. And the way that they've lost them, washed out by Liverpool, Palace really most recently, really just pieced them apart and wanted to win more. But just Everton looks slow, lazy, not really in the swing of the game, kind of relying on a bit of
it's sort of like the opposite of what you thought Rafa would do with the team. You thought Rafa at the least wasn't going to play the prettiest football, but he was going to go and put some effective, pragmatic tactics out there, and they're either going to get a result or they're going to at least give you a reason as to why, there's some logic as to how they're playing. Now, I don't know, again, they're so shot to pieces with injuries at the moment. They're another squad where you look at it and you go back to the start of the season. You go from the start of the season to now, and it just doesn't make sense how they've got here. Where have they all gone, But at the same time, they had Fabian Delph starting this game.
That's crazy.
What? That's crazy. I didn't even know he was fucking there. I bet even Rafa forgot. He's like, oh, yeah, go for a run.
Yeah, come on.
You're pretty fresh. You haven't played yet. But look, not a good start for the season. We're practically at the midway point at this stage, but not good for them so far. I don't think Rafa will see the end of the season, to be completely honest with you, because I think even if they start to get a good swing going and start to go up, feasibly, that's still maybe an 8th, 9th, 10th sort of finish. And what did you bring him in for? To finish the same spot you finished in last season with Ancelotti barely trying? Come on. There's coaches like Graham Potter, for example, who thrive at a bigger club with some more budget. You go out there and you get that done. I don't think Rafa stays till the end of the season unless they just go on some ridiculous streak and they end up pipping West Ham for that top 4 spot, which I don't even see, to be honest with you. Yeah. Stevie G continuing his great start, huh?
3 out of 5 games won. He's only lost against City and Liverpool by a goal apiece. 2 of the best teams. It ain't a shame to lose against some of the best to do it. Considering
and took it to him.
Yeah, he took it to him. At least you can say he tried. And he's, if they were under Dean Smith, it would have been a whole different scenario. And would they have made the games as close as they did? But look, credit to him. He's jumped into a big jump. Jumped into a big jump. He's jumped into.
I didn't even catch that. You could have got away with it.
And hey, we're about accountability on last goal wins. But look, yeah, he's taken to the role like duck to water. I think he's also won a lot of players. The players seems to be reinvigorated and really keen to really
Yeah,
play
man.
for Stevie G. And I think that comes a bit with the name, but also a
Yeah.
fresh start.
And also what he
Before,
did at Rangers, like,
yeah,
did terrific there. Terrific job.
yeah, but yeah, shout out to Stevie G. Well done.
Nah, like honestly, he's done great. Probably one of the better examples of like player to coach transitions, how he's done it, how he's gone about it, the
Mm,
way he's sort of gone from role to role.
mm,
You can't really fault for the path he's taking.
mm. And he
And
says the right things as well.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Can I get another can of Coke?
He's saying the right things, all right. All right.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Some crazy shit happening in Europe, man. Fucking
Mate, call the
UEFA
call the police.
UEFA have to do the redraw of the round of 16 little they had who was it? Arshavin?
Yeah, the only time Arsenal are even close to European football this season,
Oh
and
my
they botch it.
goodness. Oh my
They
goodness.
botched it.
That's funny.
But
Poor bloke.
little old Arshavin, yeah, well, not so little now, he's a little bit chubby, eh?
Yeah, he's put on a bit of weight, but hey, he's allowed to live his life.
Of course.
He's going the old Antonio Cassano route. He's
Parties
getting
with Poots.
but look, they fucked it up. Several mistakes. Like it's mental how they did it. To be honest, like I think they've come out and said it's an error with the software. Which why does there a software? Is it that hard? Like I thought they could just be like, hey, can you organize the little ball things? Yeah, sure, I'll put them. Did they play those guys? Yeah, they did play those guys, so they can't be in there. All right, cool. Like it's 16 teams. Like you don't need some sort of deep blue, the AI that beat fucking the world chess champion. Like you don't need that. It doesn't make any sense why they're doing that. But whatever. It made a mistake, and it had people in the same lot that hadn't played each other or weren't in the same groups, and then had people that were in the same groups in separate ones, therefore lining up for them to play each other. Like it was just all wrong. I think from literally the second fixture onwards, because I think it was Real Madrid Benfica was the last right one, and then everything from there was like wrong. So I don't know how they did all that, but they baited us with the PSG United game. That's the only thing I'm upset about. Like, fair enough, human error if it was, but I don't think it was. I think it was some sort of software. But people make mistakes. Mistakes are made. I understand it, but
at least keep that game.
Fix it before that you finish it and wrap it up, and people are posting about it. You get to fix it immediately. Like they should have been as they're reading it out loud. They should have went, hold on. This doesn't
something ain't making sense.
Something that ain't making sense. Like, why are you gonna let the whole the media circus kick off? Because it was such
you made all the clubs post to their socials as well. You had Man United jumping up and down.
Yeah, legit. I mean, it was their red panty night, to be honest, because there's a good chance that neither one of those squads make it through the round of 16 game. So this was sort of a chance for them to get like a nice, good, hot minute in the sun before possibly, a fiery exit.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. All we can do is be sad about it. But now we do get PSG versus Madrid in a battle for custody of Mbappe. Winner gets to keep the Ninja Turtle.
Who wants a turtle? We've got one right here. We're starting to go down wrestling canon now.
We didn't get Messi at City and Ronaldo at United, which was the cool climatic battle that we were hoping to get. But we may yet get Mbappe versus Haaland at Real Madrid and Barca. That's cool. I'm excited. I'm keen to see if that plays out. I know that practically every club in the world is in for those two guys, so they could really land anywhere. I mean, Mbappe seems pretty set on Real Madrid. I mean, he's wearing a fucking Real Madrid kit in his book that he released recently. But yeah, the children's book he made.
Oh no, I didn't really know that.
Yeah, he made a children's book about his life, if I've understood the synopsis correctly. But
imagine you misunderstood a children's book.
Hey, it's some deep reading. Mbappe he's a wordsmith. Now one of the cool screenshots from it is like him as a little kid, and he's in like a Real Madrid kit. So like, surely, the man's dreaming of playing there. Why wouldn't he make that his next move? It's his. This is the easiest time for him to like essentially pick where he wants to go because he's off contract. But yeah, look, sad to miss out on PSG versus United, but I think PSG versus Madrid is still a nice consolidation, to be honest with you. Still very exciting, still a lot of narrative. I don't know if you saw this. Maradona Cup was played.
I don't think anyone saw this, to be honest,
No,
because I didn't hear anything about it.
unless you're Saudi Arabian, then you definitely saw it.
Ah, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but look, Barca lose to Boca Juniors on penalties for the Maradona Cup in Saudi Arabia with Dani Alves as captain. Holy shit, a lot has happened in the last 18 months, huh? I'll play all the sounds. That's the chaos that we're living right now, to be honest with you.
It's yeah, man. Like, let's have a look at the lineup. I mean, you had Philippe Coutinho starting, Dest at left wing, Alves at right back, wearing number 8 of all numbers, Garcia, Neto, Langlet, and then a few youngsters. Puig lifted from the depths of the bottom of the what do you call them? The catacombs of Barca's of the Camp Nou.
So man, I don't. I'm surprised that they obviously they made a game of it so much as they did. Because I thought that it was going to be like a complete exhibition type thing. But he rotated the squad, tried to get fresh legs out there. You know, they really went for it. And Boca just played better, just played better. I know it was a draw and it went to penalties, but they played better. They just played a better game of football. Very sad to see. You know, these were the sort of games where, the really dominant Barca would come forth and, they'd start holding possession and there'd be like 40 passes before a goal and that sort of stuff. But in this one, they're just keeping their head above water against Boca Juniors, which is strange to see.
My thing is also, why would you, like, you've hyped it up as the Diego Maradona Cup, Memorial Cup, whatever, and then you just bring a C team. Like, what the fuck is that about?
Well,
why would you set it up in the middle of the season? Why not do it after or in a pre-season?
If you watch the game, you'll realize that it's 100% advertising. Some company has paid Barcelona a decent chunk of money. Hey, we want you to put this event on so we can cover it in advertising for ourselves. We'll pay for everything. We'll fund it completely. You just put the match together. That's what it seems like, because it was slathered in marketing collateral, just everywhere it was.
Maradona's rolling in his grave.
Maybe, I don't know. He was an avid deal maker, so to speak. I mean, if there was an event that needed a spokesperson, you could bet your bottom dollar that Maradona would put his hand up for it. So it was in his wheelhouse. Let's leave it that way. And he was very much in favor with the Saudi Arabians.
Nice.
But yeah, let's leave it there. A bit of craziness at the end of the week. Literally, I think it was this morning or last night that game. Catch the replay on Spotify, on YouTube. Follow us on the socials at Last Goal Wins Pod, on Twitter at Last Goal Wins Pod _ on Instagram at Last Goal Wins Podcast, on Facebook. All glory be to Boza. Thank you for listening.